live. Hello, everybody. And what's up? Yeah, welcome back. It's another episode of Skip Happens. You know, it's the podcast where we talk all things country music. I'm going to love this, man. You know, life on the road. We're going to find out about that, the stories behind the songs. I'm your host, Skip Clark. You know that. And we always bring you the best in country music. And tonight we've got a special guest, a rising star who's been making waves, powerhouse vocals. You'll find out. You'll hear him and go, holy crap. Honest storytelling and undeniable country grit. I love the grit part of it too. So, and if you haven't heard his music yet, well, you're about to become a fan real quick. Please welcome. He's sitting right over here. If I hit the right button, you're going to be able to see him. It's Chase McDaniel. Yo, hey.
What's up, man? Good to be here.
Hey, welcome to the Pod Zone, dude.
This is sick, brher. This is an amazing setup you got here.
I have to ask, have you ever been like invited to somebody's house to go do the podcast?
This is first.
This is the first.
Yeah, this is awesome.
This is it. This is the real deal.
Yeah, this is killer.
You know, I love it. This is my my little heaven.
Oh yeah,
so to speak, a man cave. I don't know if that's the proper word to use nowadays. But,
I can get behind it. I hope heaven looks a little bit like this.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, this is heaven to me.
Yeah,
this is heaven to me. So, hey, I do want to welcome you officially to the Pod Zone. Good stuff going on. As you can see, he's right there. I know the cameras are kind of funky. There you are. There you are. How long you been growing that hair, dude?
Since I couldn't afford a haircut. Okay. So
you're honest. Yeah, that's why it comes honest storytelling. I totally get that.
Probably 2018.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got started in country music?
Yeah. So growing up, my great grandpa was just a huge bluegrass fan. So, you know, he would go to this place called Renfro Valley in Kentucky, and he would bring me back guitar picks and things like that. And first CD he ever got me was Josh Turner's Long Black Train. And he was like, I want you to learn this song and sing it for a family reunion. And I was like 8 years old. I had no bass in my voice or anything. But I just got hooked on that record. I mean, I just played it. It was the first piece of music I could call mine, you know. And then my other papaw sang bass in a gospel quartet. And so there wasn't really any live music in Kentucky. Like, we were a dry county. So like, to go to a bar or to go to a venue, like, that was like hours away. So the only live music I knew was bluegrass gospel that was in the church. And so those first records were Josh Turner, Randy Travis, you know, Keith Whitley. And then I think it was like fourth grade, I traded a pack of Pokemon cards for an AC/DC record. And then I found rock and roll. Yeah.
Little AC/DC. Yeah. Shook me all night long, baby.
Yeah.
A little TNT.
It was the Back in Black record.
Yeah, the Back in Black.
You shook me all night long. It was definitely one of those songs. Yeah.
And they still play it today. Go to a wedding. Yeah. I guarantee you're going to hear about You Shook Me All Night Long. So.
Yeah, I remember being like 9 and trying to figure out what he was saying and being like, did he just say American thighs? Like, I was like I'm trying to put it together, because like when you're 9, you're like, I hadn't heard lyrics like that before.
Right.
Like, I'm hearing gospel lyrics, and all of a sudden there's a song where it's you know, what do they call it? Not safe for work. I guess, you know.
I love it. You know, you have that Josh Turner sound.
Oh, cool. Wow.
I mean, you've got that baritone, you've got the bass going now. I don't know when you said you didn't have it at the age of 8, and that's probably not, but still, I get. Do you do any of that, like Long Black Train, in any of your sets at all, just because you have that voice?
Not anymore. I think,
but you did.
Well, yeah. When I was like a teenager, I'd go around town. My papa would have me going church to church singing Long Black Train, or they would have probably called me the Josh Turner impersonator of Greensburg, Kentucky, when I was 16, 17 years old.
That's a good thing, though.
Well, I wasn't good at it. I was only kid doing it, you know.
Yeah, well, somebody was doing it.
Yeah,
it was you.
You know,
that's what matters.
I don't, you know, if there was a demand, I was the only one offering the supply. So,
yeah. Chase McDaniel, let me ask, what inspired you to pursue a career in country music?
I just loved country music more than anybody I knew. You know, growing up in a small town called Greensburg, and it was a country music town, so everyone loved country music. But still, I think I loved it more than anybody there. So, you know, I burned those records up like just you wouldn't believe. I just connected to music in a way that didn't make sense to anybody other than me. You know, my grandparents took me in when I was a kid, and my papaw sang, you know, and so I wanted to be like my papaw. He was my hero. And so, you know, he'd sing in these churches, and so I wanted to learn songs just to sing in church, you know. And but, you know, then I, you know, got a car, got a radio, and before you know it, I was wanting to sing country songs, and that fit my voice. I always had that, thick Kentucky accent. When I moved to Nashville, people would always ask me, "Boy, you from Alabama? You from around here or something?" And I said, "I'm from Kentucky, so not too far up the road." But yeah.
I can tell if music doesn't work out for you, which I don't think that's going to be an issue here, from what I've heard already and what I've seen, but you could be a voiceover talent. You could be a voiceover artist. You look at John down there. He's agreeing. Now, here's the guy that's with you all the time. And
this guy, he's got the voice too, man. I mean, I try to get him to sing, but he won't do it. But
no, look at how quiet he is.
But he's got that gravel. He's got that. You're Louisiana, right?
Arkansas.
He's got that Arkansas.
I'm from Arkansas.
Yeah, exactly.
So if your hometown is what again?
Greensburg, Kentucky.
So I'm driving down the road and I drive into Greensburg. What's will be the first thing I'll see?
A whole lot of nothing. Whole lot of nothing.
It's okay. It's okay.
I'm trying to think. I know
stop sign. There's got to be Joe's grocery store or something.
We actually are just now getting a grocery store. I saw that on Facebook today.
Wow.
Because we used to have to go to Walmart in Campbellsville, which was 10 miles down the road.
Okay.
So first thing, there was a McDonald's. There was a couple stoplights. The schools are big there, so we've got everybody's into the high school football, baseball, basketball teams. My brother is a senior this year, and they were ranked 6th in the state in basketball, and so that was like the whole county shut down for them, man. Like that.
Well, that's cool, though.
It is, man. It was just hometown support, and so. But yeah, we had a McDonald's. We had a least famous recipe, which I've only ever seen in Kentucky.
At least what?
It's a chicken house. We could just call it the chicken house. We call it the chicken house.
Right.
So you go there, you get fried chicken with some sweet tea, and a Dairy Queen.
Everybody's got a DQ. Come on. Everybody's got a DQ.
And that's about it.
No, that's cool, though.
Yeah.
That's small town. That's hometown.
Yeah.
That means more than anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
And everybody knows everybody. Somebody needs something. Somebody's there to help.
Both good and bad.
Which is really good. So I want to hear a little bit about your song Burn Down Heaven.
Yeah. So
tell us about that.
Yeah. I was raised by my grandparents, like I said, my grandparents took me when I was 10 or 11 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So I go back home often, to see Mama and Papa. My Mama and Papa or Mom and Dad. So they're 82, 83. And my Papa was a preacher of a country church growing up. So he always has these little aphorisms and stuff and things that he'll say that I'm like, dang, that's a country song. I gotta write that down. And so one weekend I was back home and he said, I think I would turn down heaven for your mama, meaning that if he had the chance to live forever, never say goodbye, that he would take that opportunity over going to heaven. And so I sat down with my guitar one night when I got back to Nashville trying to write a love song called Turn Down Heaven. And realized that wasn't my story. I was trying to write someone else's story, and which you do as a songwriter sometimes. And as I was playing my guitar, I accidentally said the phrase "burn down heaven" by accident. And so, the way I was brought up, it felt like lightning had struck my body. Right.
It's like, uh-oh.
Yeah, I shouldn't have said that one. And, like I had done something wrong or something, and so, but I sat with it for a second. I thought, maybe my subconscious is trying to tell me something. What does that mean? And it took me back to a time in my life where I felt like I had done something unforgivable, like I had done the worst thing imaginable, which would be burning down heaven, And I thought, when is it in my life when it felt like God and all the angels were pointing their finger at me, like I had just done something wrong, and it was when I had hurt somebody that I really cared about, and truly it was me that hadn't forgiven me. I hadn't forgiven myself, and so writing that song was, I think, the beginning process of me forgiving myself for that and for a whole lot more.
It's the meaning. It goes deeper. You hear it and you think one thing, but the reality is it goes a lot deeper.
Yeah. And that's,
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. It's funny. Tyler, our producer over there, just I think he's kind of starstruck right now and I'll tell you why. I have a little bit of a story when he goes, okay, who do we have on the podcast tonight? And I said, well, Chase McDaniel's going to stop over. And he goes, wait, Big Machine? Yeah. He goes, he's on my playlist.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
On my playlist.
Let's go.
So
yeah.
I just, he's like, boom, he was over here in 2 minutes. Come on,
that's
when we
awesome,
start,
man.
where are they? No, but it's so good. Tyler helps me out a lot. But let's talk about, your musical style. How would you explain that to somebody that does not know you?
Yeah.
somebody says, "Hey, tell me about your musical style," what would you tell them?
I would say if you put Josh Turner and AC/DC in a room together and told them to figure
Now,
it
I would
out.
like to hear that.
Yeah.
That could be really something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It's country. It's a little bit of rock and roll, and it's honest. I think the lyrics are some of the most vulnerable things that I could say. They're all true stories about my life, and I'm on a mission in country music. I'm on a mission to to share the things that I've personally struggled with, the things that my family has gone through, the things that I've went through that, growing up in a small town like I did, we didn't talk about. And so, I think the reason I wanted to be an artist, or the reason that itch was inside me, was because I loved country music so much and I never heard my story. And so I think that is what caused me to become a writer, was that in order for my story to be represented, I had to write it myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, do you write a lot by yourself, or do you team up with others and go to writers' nights and do all that?
Yeah, both. I started out for years writing by myself. I only really recently started writing with other people.
Okay.
And, I've got some amazing co-writers. My producer on my record coming out in August, his name is Lindsey Rhymes. He's just absolutely incredible. He's worked on Nate Smith's record and done a lot of his stuff. And so we linked up and we got a really awesome song one day. And then I was like, oh, I think we should maintain this friendship.
Keep this going. How long have you been playing music?
Oh, so,
you said 8?
Yeah, well, yeah, but I think I probably sang in church for the first time when I was about 12, maybe, and then after that, I think I took a couple breaks here and there, and then probably really my first gig, I was 15. My papa took me to this place called it was Lincoln Jamboree.
You still remember that?
Oh yeah,
that's awesome.
And there was a guy there. It was kind of like a small town Opry type deal. That's what they were trying to do. And so you'd go in there, it was like a theater, and the folks would come in. They get dinner and a show. And so he'd pay you $50 to sing for about 4 hours. But you had to impress the guy. You had to impress him. And so he took me in there one day backstage, and he said, here's my grandson, and he likes to sing, and I really like to help him, get on the show here. And he said, well, what can he sing? And so he said, well, play him Folsom Prison Blues. And so, at 15, I'm singing Johnny Cash. And he's like, well, all right. And then he let me hop on the show.
That's cool. And $50 at 15 years old is a lot of money.
It's gas in the tank.
Yeah,
it is, that's right. Yeah.
maybe a little bit of gas in the tank.
Gas in the tank and a movie theater ticket. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's pretty cool. Tell me about your debut album, The Lost Ones.
Yeah, so Lost Ones is one, it's a title to one of my favorite songs on the album, and then 2, it's the title of the album. So coming out in August. So Lost Ones is the theme, it's the template of everything that I've been writing, and really just my life story up to this point. Like I said, my grandparents took me in when I was a kid, and that was because my dad was an addict. And gave me everything that you could that you should have as a kid. It was unconditional love there, it was safety, it was taught me to go chase my dreams, that it was a good time at Mama and Papa's house. That being said, there were early scars, there were things that I saw, that I went through, that you wouldn't wish on any kid, and so as I got older, and really even then, I struggled with things like mental health. I most of my life, I have been battling with the dark side of my mind. And so, that all kind of came to a head. And one night I found myself standing over a bridge at 3 a.m. in Louisville, Kentucky, feeling like I couldn't make it another day alive, when a guy pulled me back over and told me that I was important, told me that I mattered, and told me that I had to keep fighting because I'd made it so far, and how could this be any different? I got to keep going today. And so my mission is to travel the country and to write these songs and sing these songs, and to spread that same message to people who are whether they're on their last day, or they're going through a hard time, or they don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I have been fortunate enough to have had this connective thread lead me to this incredible place, this arrival, to where I'm chasing my dream right now, and things are going pretty good right now, and I feel good right now in my head and in my soul. And so if I can take a little bit of that, go back into the tunnel, and tell everybody that, hey, it doesn't have to end here, it can get better. that's what I'm doing is I'm out to find the lost ones.
How old were you when you went through that episode? For example,
Yeah.
being on the bridge and all that. How old were you?
It was for years, but the
Yeah.
bridge incident, I think I was probably 21,
Yeah.
maybe 22.
A lot of stuff going through your mind at that age.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah. And my dad, we had just lost my dad.
Jeez.
You know, he had been an addict for 17 years, and he eventually just decided that he was done himself. So, and that was,
I'm so sorry, man.
well, thank you. But you know, so in my family, that was something that we didn't know how to process. My grandparents, they lost two sons. One was my uncle, and then one was my dad. So, you know, I'm growing up in this house that has just, you know, it's been bombarded with grief, and you know, I didn't know what to do with that, I think, and so I think my brain just did what any brain would do, and it tried to protect me. My brain was trying to protect me, but I didn't recognize it as that. And I found myself in some really dark moments. But you know, I think that there's the light at the end of the tunnel of that is that I can now tell people, hey, you're not alone.
Right.
I have seen the other side, and you know, I've been there to where it felt like no one could possibly feel this bad. It doesn't make sense that anyone else in the world has ever felt like this before. There's no way. But I did. I felt like that. My brain was that sick, and then I still got to the other side. And I just want to tell people that that's possible.
No, and did you feel like nobody could tell you different?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I went through a lot of that many, many, many years ago. Not off a bridge, but same idea.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And but you don't realize. I mean, I had people tell me all sorts of stuff, and I didn't want to listen to them.
Yeah.
I didn't care.
Yeah.
But I know we're in the pod zone now, but that young lady right upstairs saved my life.
Oh, wow.
And that's how we became who we are.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I get all choked up talking about it, but hearing it from you and the stories, and they're not stories, it's real life.
Yeah.
It's real life. And I don't think there's anybody that doesn't go through anything. I don't care. You could have the best marriage. You still have these demons that are there.
Yeah.
And well, I'm getting all the chicken noodles here, getting goosebumps. But it's, they're there. And to hear it from somebody like you that, you know, you've been through it. You've lost loved ones. You've seen addiction. Look where you are now. You're on the verge of being a star.
Well, I appreciate
you are.
that.
You're putting music out to radio. It is awesome. I mean, good example is, you know, Tyler over there, he's always looking for good music, and he's got great taste. And when, you know, so you have made, I'm using Tyler as an example here, but you have made an example of yourself saying, hey, I can do this. And other people that, you know, maybe somebody's going to be watching this or somebody listening to this will hear the story and know that, there is another side.
I really
don't give up.
I really hope so.
Wow. Yeah. Man, we just got pretty deep.
You know? and I think that's good. I think that's okay. You know, I try to, as I'm doing this, I want to encourage those conversations, you know, because when those conversations aren't had, there's no progress to be made. You know, like when the truth is locked inside of you and can't go anywhere else. It's, you know, we wrote a song recently. You know, it's going to be on the album. It's called Mind on Fire, and it's just kind of this. It's the story. It's that. And you know, one of my friends in the room, Brett Warren, he's also in recovery.
The Warren brothers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love those guys. Oh my God, they're so amazing.
Who doesn't?
And he said
stories about the Warren brothers. Let me tell you. But go ahead.
He's incredible. Well, he said this line as we were talking. You know, that's something that he heard in recovery. He said, "You know, you're only as sick as your secrets." And I said, we got to put that in the song.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we ran upstairs as fast as we could, and we wrote that song in probably 45 minutes, you know, and finished the song called Mind on Fire. And it's just so true. You know, the more that you have locked inside, the moment that you can be honest, you know, when that guy pulled me back over, and it was the first time that I had felt seen and been seen, as painful as it was like a weight had been lifted for the first time too. So,
you know, that kind of leads me to ask this question about the album. And you're talking about that song that's going to be on the album.
Yeah.
Would you say that's one that holds a very special place in your heart?
Oh, yeah.
Especially meaningful to you?
Oh, yeah.
More
absolutely.
than some of the other ones?
Well, I think
they're all good.
Yeah.
I'm sure they all have something to them. But.
Yeah, I think so. You know, well, the ones that are going to mean the most to me are the ones that, you know, I think were underrepresented in my personal listening. growing up. And so the ones that, talk more about the internal struggles of the mind, the soul, whatever, those are always going to be, my favorites. Yeah.
Burn Down Heaven. We
Yeah.
talked about that a little bit, but
Yeah.
it's already getting attention. I know your label has been in touch with me about that song, and they're doing a great job, by the way, just so you know.
Okay. They're awesome. I got a great team.
Yeah, I know you do. And think about everybody that's on your not only your team, but look at the label that you're working with and the artists that are on that label. My God, that's
pretty humbling.
Yeah. I'd be like, holy shit, somebody pinch me, you know? But how does it feel knowing that your music is really starting to hit a lot of people?
Well, it's kind of this it's just I didn't expect it, to be honest. I wrote songs, I think, to ease my mind. That was my goal, was to just feel better. And then the most amazing thing happened was I found out that, I'm not alone. And there are so many people that connect with this, and it's really, really powerful and really cool.
So the album release, what's the date of that?
It's August something. Yeah, they could probably tell you better than I could.
I'm looking at your team over there, part of your team, the one person that's here from the team.
It was hard enough to write the
song. It's going to be in August.
Yeah,
I know. Now, how long did it take you to write all those songs?
I
some
took
pretty quick, and others.
Correct. Yeah. So I mean, I've been working on these my whole life. So, some of these I started and left and came back to, and others, I wrote, in less than an hour. So, but I took off most of the year touring last year to just focus on writing this album. Yeah.
I had to get it done.
Yeah. I had to get it done.
Putting them all in the closet. So when the time is ready.
That's right. That's right.
The time is right. You can open that door, which is pretty cool. And, what's next for you after the album release? You're going to be hitting some tours. You're going to be going out. Do you know of anything that's Chase McDaniel is going to be on tour with whoever, whatever, wherever yet?
I don't know anything yet,
idea?
But
you're with Big Machine. I'm sure there's big things coming. So.
Yeah, but I'm excited for the album to come out. And excited for the as many people in the world who want to hear it to hear these songs. Yeah,
I love that, man. So when you're not playing music, what do you do?
Ooh, that's a great question. Let's see. When I'm not playing music, I love to go fishing when I get the chance. I've been in Nashville now for 9 years.
Okay. And I was going to ask how long you were there.
Yeah. So, I love to go back home. Like, I go back home to see Mama and Papa as often as I can. And, that's the busier you get, the harder that gets. But, even a couple weekends ago in the middle of radio tour, I made my way back home to see Mama and Papa for the weekend. So I stop in there, I hang out and see friends.
How does the hometown treat you? Are you the hometown radio? I mean, maybe the 12 or 15 people in your town that, no, I'm kidding. But still, but your hometown radio and all that. I mean, look what you're doing. How do they treat you? Are they playing you? Are they getting you out and, saying, hey, Chase McDaniel, he's our hometown guy.
It's pretty cool, man. I love it. I go back home and
put you on a float.
Yeah. Well, my hometown is really amazing, and there are so few places that I can go and not know somebody, or have went to school with somebody, or somebody's daughter or cousin knows me, and so I'll go to the drive-through at the chicken house, and
the chicken house.
I get a sweet tea, and
I'll never forget that. Now it's gonna be we're going to the chicken house,
and we're taking pictures and stuff. So it is really cool. And I went home to my brother's ball game. They had like a rivalry game going on.
Oh, basketball! You were telling me that, right?
Yeah, and cool. They had played my songs over the speakers during the game.
How does that feel?
It's pretty wild, to be honest. I wasn't expecting that.
Did they know you were there?
They knew I was there.
Okay.
Yeah. I've heard them saying, I don't know that this is true or not. Somebody was telling me that they used one of my songs during the interchange in the baseball and football games and stuff like that. So but it was cool to be there and cool. That's my high school. So to feel that what I'm doing isn't embarrassing them at the very least is cool.
Come on, dude. Yeah. I'm just chatting with you and being a radio guy and doing what I do, and I hear your voice. It's just, I don't know, dude. There's something good about that. There's something. Thanks, I mean, man. just chatting.
Yeah.
Let alone once we hear a couple of songs here.
But your awesome room is maybe just making it. Magical. You got a magical room here, brother.
It is awesome. A magical room. Yeah. You need to tell others about this. You got to live that. So, I'm trying to think. So, when you're home, do you drive a pickup?
I drive a Honda right now. Yeah, so I had a GMC
I
that
try to guess what
yeah.
an artist drives, and I'm wrong every single time.
Well, I had a GMC that I had to change the engine twice, and so I literally got on Consumer Reports, "What's the most reliable vehicle in the world?" And I found the Honda Civic.
Honda,
Yeah,
they are though, but they're
there
also one
it's
of the most stolen vehicles, if I'm
oh, I
not
didn't know
mistaken.
that. Wow.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
they're so tiny, people
Yeah.
pick them up and take them. But no, it's always I always try to guess when I interview an artist. It's like, okay, I'm gonna guess that okay, you got a Silverado, it's 1500, you know. Nope, got a Kia.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, that's nope, got a Nissan.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it's like, oh, okay, okay.
yeah,
And what year? I think it's 2012.
yeah,
You know, so
yeah.
but it, you know,
Some
you're
of us are
real.
trying to get good gas mileage, you
Yeah.
know. We're
No, no,
trying
and you should, and you
to
should. What was like one of your first jobs ever?
My first job was at Burger King.
Yeah.
Yeah, my papa woke me up on my 16th birthday. He said, "Hey, wake up, you're late." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he threw me my uniform. He's like, "I got you a job at Burger King." So my papa, he was a teacher in my hometown too.
Oh,
He
cool.
was at the local university there, and so he was well renowned there. He was everyone's favorite teacher, just this brilliant guy. So he would
Mhm.
go to Burger King once he retired and read books for like 6 to 8 hours a day. And so he knew all the staff at Burger King, and he's like, "Hey, I got a grandson just turned 16, and needs a job." And they're like, "Well, bring him in." And so he threw me my uniform and said, "You're late." So
So I'm looking at some of the comments here.
yeah,
Do you have a Kentucky Fried Chicken? Jason Krantz. You know Jason by chance? He's a radio guy in the Midwest. Uh,
yeah, yeah.
yep.
So we have one in Campbellsville, which is 10 miles from my hometown, and so it's interesting. So Greensburg is my hometown where I went to school. Campbellsville is where my mom and papa live. So I would go back and forth. And the crazy thing about this is that I grew up on the time zone change, the
Are
line.
you like right there?
Yes.
So if you go one way, you're an hour
Yes.
behind. You go the
Yep.
other way, and it's like, crap. I don't know what time it is. It's like, am I late? Am I early?
Bingo. So Campbellsville was on Eastern time. Greensburg was on Central
Ah.
time. We called it fast time and slow time.
Mhm.
I never knew it as anything else. So when I went to school, when I went to college, I asked my professor, "Is that test on fast time or slow time?" And he's like, "Are you stupid? What are you doing? Like, maybe you shouldn't go to this school." You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, yeah. But I
I'd be
literally, like,
honest.
when I got a smartphone, my phone would change time zones from one side of the house to the other side of the house. That's how bad it was, you know. So you never knew what time you were in.
Be in the living room and it's noon.
Yeah,
Go to the kitchen,
yeah,
it's 1 o'clock.
yeah. It was
But
confusing, man.
you know, Sarah is saying, please come to Syracuse. Sarah, he's sitting right here. He's here. But how cool. But you know, we'd love to get you here.
Absolutely, I would love
Put you
to.
in front of a lot of fans.
Yeah,
As and you know, the way I always say when it comes to radio and the relationship with the artist and putting you on that stage, it's always one fan at a time. And we
Mhm.
build with that. And it's the same thing for radio. That's what we do. One fan at a time.
I love that, man.
Or maybe in your case,
Yeah.
10 fans at a time. You're doing really well. Let's see what else we have here before we move on. But I don't know what's going on here. So you like the pod zone, huh? Sorry about the pizza. We didn't have the pizza tonight. No, okay, we're good. So somebody says you're a cutie.
Well, they need to get their eyes checked. There's probably an optometrist.
Now that I look at
down
it,
the
I
road.
think that's my neighbor. It is. It's Maria. Oh man, it's funny because I love this neighborhood, and I don't know
Yeah.
about you. This
That was great. It's people walking dogs, and it's
Yeah.
nighttime outside.
But that's what it is. And there's two
I love it.
streets in this neighborhood.
Yeah,
You know, you saw Rossi, our dog, when you came in, who
Mhm.
attacked you, but in a good way.
beautiful. Yeah.
But it's a neighborhood where everybody, probably like you in your small town, where everybody knows each other and everybody helps each other. And it's like, you know, hey, how are you? The sun is out. Everybody's out in their yard.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
in the middle of December, February, January, we don't see anybody. But
Well,
dude,
I don't blame them.
We get a lot of snow.
Yeah.
So I don't. A lot of snow. I know James over there. A lot. For example, we will get a foot of snow overnight. School bus still goes by in the morning because we
wow.
have the equipment to handle the roads. The men and women do a great job here. But we get what they call lake effect snow.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of that?
No, I've not heard of that.
Didn't
no.
think so. Because we're so close to Lake Ontario. I'm not a meteorologist, but we are so close to Lake Ontario that when you get a cold wind that blows across the lake, it comes from the northwest.
Okay.
It picks up the moisture from the lake and dumps it all on Syracuse, this whole part of New York State. So, for example, we could get, I know one snowfall got over 6 feet.
Oh my God.
And that was just over this past winter.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's just amazing. It's just amazing.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. But back to the music.
Well, I was going to say, we went up to Maine a few weeks ago, and I'd never been that far north before. And it was my first time seeing snow up to the mailboxes.
Yeah.
So, like, all you could see was the box and not the actual.
It was
the pole.
As you pulled into the pod zone here, the mailbox at the end of the driveway, it was over that.
Wow.
It was over that. But the thing is, it goes away fast. Then you got to worry about flooding. So,
oh, wow.
But, you know,
think about that.
It does. And the water's got to go somewhere.
That's crazy.
So, yeah, it is crazy. Really nuts. Really nuts. So what sports? You like basketball?
Yeah, I grew up playing football all my life, and then also I did competitive weightlifting. So I know that's really, really random. Yeah, but my grandpa and my dad did it, and so I did that most of my life. And then the football team would do it in the off season as they get all the football teams in the state together, and you just see who could outbench and
how'd your school do? Football.
We did pretty good, not too bad. Yeah. And then, but I was better at the weightlifting than I was at football. So, because in my weight class, I did pretty good. And then, I went on to college to do that, and ended up, did a clean and jerk one day, and I caught the weight wrong or something.
You call it a clean jerk?
A clean and jerk. Yeah. Yeah. So you pick it up, you throw it all the way to your shoulders, you stand up, and then you throw it over your head. Yeah.
Sounded
it's
kind
dangerous.
of obscene. But I didn't know what a clean jerk was.
It's not the best. It's not the best name for what it is, but yeah.
You gotta be careful. Do you still work out though? Is that
Not
something
really.
in your routine?
Yeah, I wish I could, but I had that injury. I passed out and I hit my head. I woke up in a CAT scan machine. Yeah. That was like 19 when that happens.
Crap.
So, and I had horrible amnesia. Like I didn't know who I was. I did like the real deal concussion. So, I didn't realize how bad of an effect that had on me until every time I went to the gym, I had to run out after about 10 minutes. I was like, kind of getting the yips, I think.
So I do have to ask about your routine a little bit, because here we are, it's in the evening, or, we're in the pod zone, but on a radio tour, most, if not, well, probably pretty much all of them, maybe a few in the afternoon, but most are in the morning. Don't you go in and like, hey, we're here, 7 a.m.
Yeah.
All happy with your guitars and ready to play your hit and shake hands and meet everybody from music directors to program directors to station owners. I mean, how is that? How do you do it?
I'm enjoying it.
It's called a radio tour. For those of you watching that don't know, I know because I've been doing this radio thing for a long time, but it's called a radio tour. We meet artists like Chase. How do you do it?
Well, we're in probably 2 or 3 cities a day, and I am personally afraid of planes. Like, I used to love planes. I used to love flying.
If you watch the news, I don't blame you, because now there seems to be more and more and more. Planes using a taxiway for a runaway, another one clips its wing as it's landing, and one rolled over. It's like, and that was right around CRS time.
Yeah.
Because I was on a regional jet, and I'm going, just stay upright.
That's right. I remember that. Yeah.
So
that was
go ahead.
like
I'm
the
sorry.
Same week. No, I was gonna say, I think I had flight anxiety before it was cool. before everybody else said, you know what, me too.
I don't blame you.
But I it's kind of still recently new. I mean, probably the last 2 or 3 years, because I grew up being a big Star Trek fan. Like, I love Star Trek, Star Wars, all that sci-fi space stuff. And so, when when I grew up, I wanted to be the guy who went from planet to planet, made friends with the aliens. Like,
that's so cool.
That was my dream job. So, being afraid of planes is new for me, but it's a lot of planes, a lot of flying.
There is.
And then, a lot of waking up early, like this morning, I think I woke up at 5:30.
Okay, all right, let me ask you this. Can you name the last 3 cities you were in?
No, absolutely not. Maybe. Actually, we're in Syracuse now.
You're in Syracuse.
We were in Rochester.
Yep.
And then we were, I've lost. Buffalo.
And Pittsburgh this morning.
Pittsburgh this morning.
Well, so you drove up from Pittsburgh?
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's a one-way flight from Nashville to Pittsburgh. So we drove from Pittsburgh to Buffalo.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. But trying to think. Yeah, usually I don't like.
You will never forget this place. I'm just telling you. You're always going to remember the pod zone.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, this is the most unique and cool setup we've had. This is awesome. Like,
thank you.
Really cool setup, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like, I will say, for the first time in my life, I don't know where I am most days. Like, and because when we're on tour, like when I'm, when we're out with the band, like, I have a general idea of where I am. You know what I mean? Like you wake up, it's 2 p.m. and like you go get Chipotle or whatever. Here, I truly don't know where I am, and it is kind of weird. Yeah.
Oh my God, I love that. Yeah, it's like, where are we? I have no idea.
Yeah.
I've talked to many other artists and also my reps from the labels, and it's like they're on the bus and they have no idea. It's just they wake up, they're in another city, and it's like, okay, where are we? Oh, we're in Cleveland. You'd believe them, even though it wasn't Cleveland.
Dude,
but
I will say that if somebody told me something different, I would 100% believe them.
Exactly. How would you know?
Yeah. Right.
How would you know? Exactly. So, collaborations, any opportunities with any of that yet? I know you probably get asked that so much, but
yeah. Well,
your talent with somebody else.
We didn't have we chose not to on the first album. Lost Ones is kind of, it's my personal project, and it's something that I felt like I needed to say as an artist. So for this first project, we don't. However, I do have a song that is begging for a female collaboration, and we've not recorded it yet, but we're working on finding the right.
You're not going to say who you're thinking about.
Well, there's a few we're thinking of. So I don't know who it is yet. You know, I mean,
gotta be the right one.
It's got to be the right one. Yeah.
How do you, you think of all these different artists you want a female to collaborate with?
Yeah,
I get that. But how do you really know it's the right one?
Yeah, I don't know, like, because you don't want to like really audition it, you know what I mean? Because like that would be
no, we don't like eagerly now.
Exactly.
Next.
Yeah, you do a song like, okay, not cut that one. But no, I think just out of talking about it, and you kind of know what people's voices sound like, and and also you look at, would they sing these lyrics, would they sing these words, because it's a song that I wrote, with a couple of my friends, and it's a deep song, it's a story song, and you want to know like who'd be willing to do something like that. And so you just kind of have these conversations. You're like, okay, maybe this person. Then you also got to ask yourself, who'd be willing to sing with me? You know what I mean? Like, that lowers the selection quite a bit.
Well,
so.
I don't know about that. I think it's just the opposite. But how do you got to find somebody, and you also have to have that connection. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Just I listen. Playing the songs we play on the Wolf all day. You hear Cody and Carrie, and it's just like you can feel a connection there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, and I realized it wasn't. He was over here and she was over here, but they brought it together. Yeah. And I don't know if there was others before Carrie. I have no idea, but I can hear that connection in the song.
Yeah.
I think it worked. Obviously it works. Look what they did.
Right.
But still.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you. I think that the best, you have people who can sing anything. You have people who can sing the phone book. And then there's sometimes when the artist just connects differently to the lyric, whether it be they wrote the song or whether it be they have an experience with the song. And so, yeah, I think you can feel that as a listener,
Yeah. So what's the name of your German Shepherd?
Leto. Yeah. So
how did that come about?
We were eating at a Italian restaurant in East Nashville called Nicoletto's.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And we're driving back to our place, and we saw this poor dog on the side of the road, a little puppy. And he was, we didn't know he was a puppy at the time. As a matter of fact, German Shepherd, he was already a decent size. And so, but, he was malnourished, he was dirty, he was eating out of the trash. And so we were just like, oh, we got to check this guy out. And so we lured him into the car with Nicoletto's mac and cheese.
So hence
it's the name Leto. And so the first several months, as you can imagine, with having a rescue dog, like, was just getting him healthy. He was super sick, he was skinny, he had so many things wrong with him, and but it has been the most incredible journey ever. Like, it's the first responsibility I've had as an adult. Like,
but they're part of the fam.
Yeah,
you'll be bringing them out on tour. You're gonna be doing all these different things. I mean, we've had dogs forever here.
Yeah.
And normally we have to, we just lost one not too long ago.
Sorry,
it's a cancer though. And it was a rescue. And we never thought we would lose Nike before we, another dog.
Yeah. So, I'm sorry to hear that.
No, it's just, they become attached. They become part of your life. Yeah. And when you're just sitting there alone.
Yeah.
And just having your dog sit next to you and love you, and just,
it's the best. Right? It is, man. Yeah.
And that makes you think, because we saw them at CRS. They brought the puppies in.
Yeah.
And my wife does conferences, and she makes sure that there are these, I don't know what they call them, but they bring the puppies in, and in between sessions, they want you to go and hold the puppies and pet the puppies. And I think it just takes all that stress and all that just out of you by doing that. So
yeah, they have a They're man's best friend for a reason. I don't know what it is, but when I wish I had gotten him sooner. Like I know that he wasn't born yet, but looking back at my life, I'm like, dang, I think I would have been a lot happier if I had found him and he had found me sooner. You know?
Yeah. So I mean, do you realize where you are in your career? Do you know how close you are? Like I was looking over things today and I saw when the single's going to drop and I'm like, man, maybe I should just kind of do something with that a little bit earlier. I've had it. So, I'm getting the eye. Yeah, I know. Then it's like, we like how you think. Yeah. Until we're down 2 spins, then it's like, no, it's all good. All good. Love you guys. Really, I do. I respect the artists immensely. The labor reps just the same, because without them, you wouldn't be able to do what you're doing. For example, you're here tonight, and it's because of your rep from Big Machine. So.
Yeah. Well, I signed a record deal because I had a dream of being on the radio.
So how is it with Scott Borchetta? And that whole gang? You had a meeting with him. How did all that go? That's so cool.
So I was bartending in Nashville. I had always had multiple jobs. Coming to Nashville. I didn't come.
If you work in radio, you have several. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, you got to be anywhere and everywhere at all times.
No, I'm just saying we have several jobs for the pay the bills.
Oh yeah.
But never mind. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, sorry, that was me as well. I mean, I didn't come from a family who allowed, like you move to Nashville and you realize, oh, there's a lot of money here. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
And I ran into that, quite often where, maybe somebody's family was taking care of them so they didn't have to work or whatever, and then they were able to write, and not have to. That wasn't my story. So I had to have 2 or 3 jobs and then also try to go to the studio, write and record songs. When the pandemic happened, I lost all those jobs. And, eventually, led to a moment we're having a party at my house and I find myself, crying in my GMC with the check engine light on because I'm realizing I can't pay my rent. I can't afford groceries. I got to move back home, so I called my mama saying, asking her, do you have a bed for me to come back home to? She said, come on back. Well, a buddy of mine found me half lit in the car and, saw what was going on, offered to help me pay my rent. And I fought him on it. I didn't want to take him up on it, but, eventually he persuaded me. And that next week I found a job bussing tables and they asked me how many shifts I wanted. I said every single one of them. So I was working double shifts, 17-hour shifts, worked my way up to server, and then got a job bartending. And so bartending was where in Nashville the money was at. And so I eventually got to record a couple songs, and then I became good friends with my bar manager. And he would sometimes make fun of me or tease me and then play my songs over the speakers during my shift.
How cool.
And I had been serving a couple of these guys Stella Miller Lite for a couple of years, and they heard the song. They were like, is this you? And I was like, yeah, it's me. It's just, they just making fun. And they're like, we actually really like the song. Would you mind if we send it to a friend of ours? I said, yeah, sure. Not thinking anything of it. Well, that friend was Kevin Neal at William Morris Agency.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'd love to take you out to dinner. And 6 months later, I'm meeting Scott Borchetta, and Scott Borchetta said, I'd love to make some records with you. So cool. It's a great family. It's a great team. And, before that, I was just posting everything online and trying to grow this fan base organically because it was a free way to promote music. I didn't have marketing money. I didn't have a team. I didn't have anybody helping me.
Yeah, right.
So, but I wanted to sign a record deal because I had a dream of my songs being on the radio. When I was a kid, I rode the public school bus, and I have a funny story about the school bus because, if you ride the public school bus, all the cool kids sit in the back of the bus.
They do.
And I was probably 5 or 6 years old, and I had a couple older cousins sitting back there, and they were like, hey, we want to teach you some sign language. And I was like, all right, what you got? And they took my hand. They started putting one finger down after the other one, so one finger stood up.
God,
and
that's old.
That's old school.
That's old school. Yeah. Look at my age. We did that when I was on a school bus. So
yeah, nothing changes but the faces, they say.
No, exactly.
Yeah. And they told me that the middle finger meant great job, and that I should go up and tell the school bus driver that he was doing a great job driving the bus. And I did. And so
does anybody know this story?
Oh yeah.
Is this okay?
Yeah.
I'm going, oh my God.
I've told it at a couple of my shows, and Danny Wright was my school bus driver. He knows, and he's like, oh yeah, I remember that. And so we pulled over when it was time to my stop. He goes up, tells my mom what I did and everything. He's like, look, I know it was these older kids, but I have to punish him. I I can't let the other kids see that he did that and him not get any punishment. So I had this. I never got to sit in the back of the bus again. I had to sit beside him the whole rest of the school year. Dude. But he loved country music. He loved classic country music. He had a little radio sitting up top, and so that's where I first heard "Don't Take the Girl." It's where I first heard "Don't Close Your Eyes" by Keith Whitley. It's where I first heard. I remember crying to "There Goes My Life" by Kenny Chesney, and because my parents had me young, at 18 years old, and so I remember being stopped in my tracks by songs that I heard on the radio. And something I think that is so unique and so personal about the radio is that when a song hits you at the right moment, at the right time, it feels divine because it can make you pull over to the side of the road and wonder what you're doing 100%. With your life, because it wasn't AI. It wasn't it wasn't a made up playlist. You didn't go select the song. Somebody chose that song at the right time. You don't know who did it, and it came on at the right time for you. And that is something that is just unique to the radio and changed my life a couple of times. If I'm being honest. And so my dream was to sing country music and to be on the radio. And so when Scott Bohr said, I want to make records with you, I said, let's go. Yeah.
Gosh, dude. You just look at Jane over there. But no, you just said so much of what I love to hear about radio.
Yeah.
And we have a connection now. It's hometown, it's radio.
Yeah.
It's so important to be on the radio.
Yeah.
And nowadays, everybody's got a different avenue to get their music.
Yeah.
But radio will never go away. Radio will be there. Radio we listen to. You get in your car, you get in your truck. It's the radio. I know we have other opportunities. And I may be as guilty as others listening to various things, but when I know I can go to my local radio station, doesn't anybody in this market that locally programmed, there's only a couple left. But that just, it's like, yes, this is real. I'm getting my forecast. I'm getting my traffic. I'm hearing about artists that are coming to town. Maybe Chase McDaniel's coming to town, headlining a show. It's like I'm hearing that locally. It's about us. Yeah. It's about, and it's about artists like you.
Yeah. And there's a community involved in that too. Like,
But I heard her sniffle. Is she crying? Because we're talking about radio?
Oh yeah. Yeah, radio makes me cry.
Okay. Might be something in the pod zone I didn't tell you about. So, anyways, but this has been a great conversation and finding out a lot about you. But you also have a gentleman here that travels with you, John, over there.
Yeah.
The John Wayne Cattle Company hat. I asked, I said, "What's your name again?" He goes, "John." I go, "All right, I'm looking at the hat. Is that John Wayne Cattle Company?" He goes, "No, I just found this somewhere." But
he's got some John Wayne vibes too.
So has he been with you? Does he play with you on a regular basis?
Yeah, man. He's been. Well, we met a few weeks ago, and he's been on a radio tour with me. And what's awesome about John is that we never rehearsed. He showed up and was a rock star the first time.
Isn't that the best though?
It's crazy, dude.
Because you don't have to worry about.
You only see that a couple times. I mean, like, in Nashville's full of great guitar players, but to have somebody show up and know the songs so well that you're just like, hey, we don't have time. We just got to go into this. And he nailed it.
I have to ask, you have your songs. You met him just a few weeks ago and he's playing your songs.
Yeah.
John, is it because you knew who Chase was and you listened to his music? Or did you have a little advance notice that you were going to go on the road with him so you learned it? Or
this is an interesting story, actually.
I can't wait.
I had about 2 or 3 days notice, something like that. Yeah. But fortunately, I had videos of some radio shows, so I could see how he did it live.
Right.
But then, I mean, we met how long before that first week?
We met 30 minutes before the show.
Airport, right?
Yeah.
30 minutes before a show, you guys met.
I was flying from Nashville. I think you were coming from LA.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
We met in Phoenix. And 30 minutes later, we were at an Air Force Base in Phoenix playing a show, plugged
for the
in,
troops.
Like, let's go.
Yeah. I mean, this was like a room of like 250 troops, and we were like, oh man, we can't mess it up right now. And he nailed it.
I hadn't been nervous at a show in a while, but
one kind
of was like, oh my God, I'm kind of like freaking out a little bit.
What's it take to be somebody like you who, you're traveling now with an artist that he's right on the edge of doing something really, really good. What's it take to do that? And you obviously got your guitar and everything, but talk to me about who you are and why you do it and what does it take?
I mean, really,
this is a podcast, by the way, so we kind of drifted from Chase. We're over to John now.
Well, it takes being in Nashville, meeting some of the best
Yeah.
musicians I've ever met in my life, where it made me kick everything up. And I'm like, oh, these guys are so good, and they do their homework. And the guys that I look up to, and I'm like, okay, I've got to like do my homework and stay on top of it to keep doing this, you know. So
yeah. Did you get a chance to? Did you record with anybody? Have you done anything in the past where you've been in the studio? Maybe somebody needed a guitar player, or
yeah,
like
I do some guitar tracking, do some producing, and I've toured with some different artists and stuff. Been doing kind of the Nashville thing.
Yeah.
I've been in town 5 years, was in Texas before that. So been on the road about 14, 15 years.
You like the Texas country, do you?
I was in the Texas scene about 7 years.
A little bit of Pat Green, a little bit Randy Rogers.
Right.
I mean, you know, that's cool. That's cool. I always wondered how, you know, that whole relationship, artist, guitar player, do you really know each other? Well, you didn't until like 30 minutes ago. You know what I mean? And
sometimes that's how it works, you know. You know, and then you get a feel for like, you know, who won, like, you know, because there's different playing styles too. You know, there's more of a rock vibe, there's more of a traditional country vibe, there's more of you know, there's so many different styles of picking, and you know, sometimes it works, sometimes it's, you know, something you got to work on. This guy, we didn't have to work on it at all. So you know what I mean? And then also, you know, it's got to be somebody that you can be on the road with for weeks at a time too. And John's a pretty awesome dude. So
that's another thing. There are a lot of great players to tell, but sometimes like I've been on the road too with people that are not the best, you know, people.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
you have to, if you're going to spend, you know,
they might
24 hours,
they might sleep with mayonnaise in their socks or something. I mean, you just, you know, you never know with some of these guys. You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
I love it.
Yeah.
And you don't sing, John?
I'm trying to get him to.
I know he's got that
Don't
deep
he?
voice.
I know.
I've tried everything. I've tried lessons. I just
no, but obviously you're very talented at what you do. So you never know. It may work out someday. And you know, Alyssa is saying, I think a duet with Averiana would be perfect.
Oh, I've heard of her. Yeah, she's blowing up on the TikTok and streaming right now. Yeah, they got an awesome song out. Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, she says hi too, by the way.
Okay, well, hey there.
There you go. So it's been a great conversation.
Yes,
finding out about you. I mean, we went from, you know, who you are, we got really deep, and you know, your history and your past, which how you overcame so much in your life. And now look at you. When you've made it to sit in the pod zone, you have made it. But no, seriously.
Yes, sir, yeah.
I know the song is dropping real soon.
Yeah.
You know, it's gonna be huge for you.
I appreciate
it's gonna be huge.
Man.
And I just want to say thanks for coming by.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, by, man.
Thanks for having us, man. This place is awesome, dude. Yeah, thank you.
This, you know, I told you a little history about this, and that when other artists used to come by years ago before COVID, we would get pizza, wings, and beer. We didn't do that tonight.
Well, I'm looking at all your pictures up here, man. I mean, some of my favorite artists are in this room with signing.
Oh my God, I got everything from rock to the oldies to you know, some other. I mean, yeah, seriously,
crazy,
seriously, pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool stuff. Thanks for helping me lose my track. What I was thinking. But you know, we talked everything about you and all that. And like I said, when you're there, dude. You're there. It's going to be fun to watch you grow and to get out and see you. And I have the feeling you're going to be on some of these big shows. Maybe, I don't know when, I don't know how all that works, but once others catch on with your music, it's going to be, you know, we need to do whatever we need to do to get them on whatever tour, which is going to be cool. So,
I appreciate you, man. It's so nice to have people who believe in new artists, you know. So thank you for that. Thank you for being a champion for somebody who's just trying his best to make Mama and Papa proud. So
I feel like I've known you forever. Really,
hey, that's what the Pod Zone does. I think, man.
Does. I mean, this is like, hey, this is my world.
Yes, sir.
Just don't look at me on a Sunday morning when I'm sitting down here in my boxers and just playing music, because that's what I do.
I love that.
That's what I do. I'll just come down here, close the door. Everybody else is sleeping. I'm good to get my coffee.
You gotta have a peaceful place. What do you call it? Like the place that you go to in your mind? What's your go-to place? You know, I'm sitting there thinking of a Gatlinburg mountain river. I don't know.
God.
What do they call that? Your happy place? Your happy place.
Your happy place. You're right. Like, you know, some place in the mountains where there's nobody around, you know, it's just, here's the issue that I run into when I start thinking about that. My wife and I would be driving, and let's say we're taking a trip, and it's like, wow, it's beautiful here.
Yeah.
There's nothing around. This is so nice. Well, what am I going to do for groceries? Where am I going to go to the mall? Where am I going to? I said, well, honey, so it's a little bit of a drive. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
but no, it's just to be in that, that frame of mind is just so awesome. But thank you for coming by. Somebody wants to get a hold of your music.
Yeah. Chase McDaniel music everywhere. So.
Everywhere. Just, yeah. And you do all the socials.
Yes, sir.
And,
yeah.
all that. And I didn't ask you about that,
Yeah.
but you were doing a lot of that yourself, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I'm allowing more and more help to help me. But it's been hard, like I that's something that's my baby. I started posting those videos, but like I said, because it was just a free way to help people find my music. And so, luckily I do have an amazing team now, but I'm always going to be the one on socials there. So yeah, Chase McDaniel music anywhere you want to find me.
Yeah. Maria across the street, look it up. All right.
Yeah, yeah, there you go.
But thank you for coming by. We're gonna sign off now, but we're gonna come back and we're going to play you a couple of songs. So I just need to do what I need to do on my end. And Chase will get his guitar out and we'll play a couple of tunes and we'll call it a night.
Let's go. Love it.
Chase McDaniel, everybody. Thanks for coming by. And hang on because you're going to hear some